Welcome to our podcast. Today we have a special guest, Matt Mabe. Matt, good to have you here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I love your story. It's inspiring. It's encouraging. Tell us a little bit about where you are today, and then I want to go back to the beginning. So tell us a little bit about what you're up to these days.
Well, I am a father of four. I've been married for 28 years to my beautiful bride, Jennifer. So very blessed. She was 19. I was 21 when we got married. And so now I'm kind of the old guy in the room as time goes by. And run a home building and land development company called Arise Homes with my great friend who I consider a brother, Austin. A blessing to do business and walk alongside him each and every single day. So we've known each other about 29 years. He was in church youth group with Jennifer. So when I met her, I've known him almost about as long as I've known my wife. So
wow. Tell us a little bit about this Arise Homes. Where'd that name come from, and what are you doing in your real estate business these days?
So we're based out of Overland Park, Kansas. Austin and I started working together on some projects in 2008, but I had been in home building development in all different facets, from commercial to residential to land development. But in 2017, 2018, I was part of a Christian businessmen's group, and there's a gentleman that came to speak to us out of Texas by the name of Rick Beatonbow. And through that relationship, through that connection, and we can get into that story if you want to, but that's where Arise Homes, specifically what we are doing today, that's where it came from. And it's based on Isaiah 60, verse 1. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. And so I think that very appropriately describes where we're at with our business and how we view it in marketplace ministry, and how I do things today versus how maybe I did things, years ago when I first started into business.
So you do things very differently, and you produce a very different product than what most real estate companies are known for. Tell us a little bit about the differentiated business and the product that you sell.
I would say the biggest difference in our business today is pursuing God first in all things. We really do view our business as a ministry. I grew up in the church, gave my heart and life to the Lord at a very young age, was called to entrepreneurship at a very young age, but I never really knew exactly what that looked like and how that integrated into work versus, work time and then take my family to church on Sunday time. So I was not wholly integrated, I guess you could say. And so I would say that's probably the biggest differentiator today. I've been in real estate development pretty much most of my career. But today what we do is we build all brick, all stone homes, all ranch style, and we build them all as a patio-style home. So that's very different for the Kansas City market, but it's been very, very well received. We're in the top builders here in the Kansas City area, so very blessed to have continued to grow exponentially, and people received and really love the product and what we bring. We're more of a production-based builder, but we bring an amazing value. So we're a margin-based builder, so we have set margins, and then just work to bring the absolute best value that we can to our customers each and every day.
The quality of the home, the size of the home. People can get more home for less money.
We primarily build in Johnson County, and we are absolutely the best value from the quality of the homes. And when you're building an all-brick house versus a traditionally sided home, there's a difference. There's a quality difference. You don't have to repaint your house every 5 to 7 years. You don't have the wood rot issues. So we're trying to build a sustainable product where people can really enjoy their home, live in their home, get the absolute best value, and not have to have the worry of ongoing maintenance in those homes. And we have a great team. So all the way from our design team, all the way through our warranty team, we're a team of about 35 people right now, but continuing to grow exponentially.
Tell us about your early developments and then what happened last night.
Well, I did start into land development years and years ago, and that's a whole nother story and probably more time than what we have on this podcast today. But I did start in residential development. But as time went by, I started to pursue what I consider to be bigger and better developments. So I eventually got into hospitality, became a franchisee with different hotel brands, putting together partnership groups, investor groups, raising capital, chasing what I considered to be the next bigger and better deal. To be honest with you, I was chasing those deals, and I was chasing them based on what I thought was good decisions, and I don't know that I was really slowing down saying, God, is this what you want me to do? And I kind of felt like Moses in the desert, wandering around where God had a promised land for me. and it wasn't exactly what I was doing because I was pursuing more of Matt's endeavors versus where God wanted me to be. And in that relationship with Rick Beatonbow out of Lubbock, Texas, and through that Christian Businessmen's Group, really saw a different model. He was a great mentor, great friend, and so saw how he ran his business and how that operated and how he viewed it as a ministry. And it was really where God had my heart. And so he brought us back to single family construction. And so I thought, you know what? I don't want to build homes for people, and homeowners are messy and it's difficult, and having a lot of employees is difficult and messy. And you know what? The Lord really convicted me in that and said, you know what? You're difficult and messy, Matt, but I haven't given up on you yet. And so I was really convicted in that. And so through that, I've had the absolute most joy of growing a team who I absolutely love and appreciate, and dealing with homeowners who have amazing stories and having the opportunity to bring them a home for their family to live in and providing amazing quality and value. And so that's, that's where we're at. And our purpose statement within Arise Homes is to share Christ and his kingdom through the work that he's given us to accomplish. So that's my purpose. That's why I go to work every single day. And that kind of is my true north. And if I'm not pursuing that daily, I'm getting off track and I got to recenter.
It's really good. So last night was a big night for you and Gardner, where you got your start and kind of came full circle for you last night. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, my first development back in early 2000, so 25 years ago, was down in Gardner, Kansas, where I started. And we ventured, I still own a lot of real estate down in Gardner, but we got through city council last night with an approval of a new community down there that we'll be bringing forward. We'll have 246 new homes on 77 acres down there. So that'll be Horizon Point. So that will be our newest community down there. And one of our current active communities in West Lenexa right now called Stone Ridge. And we have about 209 acres there. We'll have about 500 homes in that community. So we're actively building there. But we built Overland Park, Shawnee, Lenexa, now venturing back down into Gardner. So yeah, so that was a huge blessing to get that vote of approval and confidence. And so, yeah.
So things are going well. Life is rich. Life is full. God is good. It hasn't always been this good. You've faced a tremendous amount of adversity and struggles and hardships in your life. Tell me about some of that.
Oh gosh, where do you want to start, Joe? We can go.
Well, how about go back to like where you were born and what your family was like growing up, and then what happened when you entered this you started going to school?
Sure. Well, you say let's go back to where we were born.
Yeah.
So when I was born with all sorts of medical complications.
Yeah.
They had removed part of my internal organs. I had terrible issues. The doctors went to my parents when I was newly born and told my parents they needed to start making funeral arrangements, and said that I would not make it. However, if on the odd chance that I did, that I would have great physical disabilities and that I would never function and operate as, a normal young child. My parents and the church that they were attending, I hear stories of the prayers that were lifted up on my behalf. And the Lord healed me, brought me through that. Doctors referred to it as an absolute miracle. So apparently God had a plan and he had a purpose, which I'm very thankful for. So at a very young age, I started out with a lot of adversity where I was in the hospital for almost a year, and I've got pictures with tubes coming out of me. And
Oh my.
it was a mess. So having 4 young children myself, I can only imagine what my parents went through, during that time, and just lifting me up in prayer. So it started out there when I got into elementary school when I was in 2nd grade. I was very quickly navigated into the special learning classes. I did not learn. I did not process. I did not understand or learn the way the other kids did. So from 2nd grade all the way up through my junior year of high school, I was always in special education classes, taking special testing. I remember in elementary school, kids would tease me and say, why are you in the dummy class? Why do you have to go there with the dumb kids? And so, as a young kid, that's hard. I never accepted that. That was never my identity. But so educationally, I learned very differently. I did not process. I was always a little bit outside the box.
10 years of the educational institutions telling you that you're going to be an underachiever your whole life.
Yes. That's absolutely true. If God gave me a gift, I think He gave me a few, but if I could narrow it down, I would say perseverance is probably one of my greatest gifts that God's given me. I don't know why, but under extreme pressure and adversity, if you tell me I can't, I generally want to try and figure out a way on how I can.
Yeah.
And so to continue to persevere through those things. I always say my parents tricked me into going to college. I did graduate with a 4-year degree in business. My mom and I, when I was in high school, we shared a vehicle together, and they said, well, if you go for 2 years, we'll let you have the car that we share. So I thought, well, that's a pretty good deal if I can get a car, after a couple of years. So I started 2 years, and I thought, well, shoot, I'm halfway through this thing. I might as well go ahead and finish. But college was a struggle. I always had tutoring and needed extra help just to get through the classes that I did. So the traditional learning style was never easy or never natural for me.
A lot of encouragers growing up. Can you give some shout outs to some of those people that really helped you maintain and maybe develop this positive attitude that you have?
I think at a younger age, there's a couple that stand out. So when I went into the special education classes, I had a teacher by the name of Carol Nolte. I can't believe that I remember her name, but I do, all the way back in elementary school. And she just was really an encourager and came alongside and made me feel not inadequate, that I was smart, that I had things to offer. And so at a young age, that educational teacher, she made an impact on me. My parents, for sure, having parents who cared, who prayed, who encouraged me as much as I would screw up, they would stand by my side, continue to love me, and continue to try and point me in the right direction. And so, having good, loving parents was super impactful for me as well.
Any other struggles that stand out as you look back at your life where you could just see God really show up and either develop your character or even use those situations for good?
Yeah, absolutely. There's been plenty of physical struggles. Maybe I'll hit on a couple more of those, and then maybe also just some things in work life and, over the years. So also when I was younger, we got in a serious car accident in our family where the car rolled down into an embankment end over end, ended up in the hospital, and the doctors told my parents most certainly that he is going to be paralyzed through that accident. And so the next time that my parents saw me as I was coming out of the back of the hospital area, I was walking and I was asking where the restroom was. And so it's just like God's hand was upon me, right? When the ambulance came and took me away from that car accident, I couldn't move. I was literally, paralyzed. And so, God's hand was upon me, in that situation. I had snapped my left arm in half, completely broke it backwards at the elbow when I was in high school. I've always been doing extreme sports. I was doing extreme sports. My arm snapped at the elbow, metal pins, surgery. When I first went in, they were talking amputation of my left arm. And then when they decided they weren't going to amputate it, they said that arm will never be, as strong, and you'll never have full range of motion of that arm. So, Joe, I sit here before you today and I show you my left arm. I still got some muscles in there and I still got full range of motion. It was hard. The physical therapy, I remember crying and pushing the limits of what I could physically handle, through that recovery process. So just things like that over the years. As I got into business, when I graduated from high school, the church that I attended at that time put out a pamphlet that said what all the students plan to do or study. So we had education, law enforcement, legal studies. Mine simply said Matt Mabe, entrepreneur, which meant I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I knew I didn't want to be in a box and I didn't want to work for somebody else. And so when I came out of college, I can tell you there was never a day that I actually worked for somebody else. I came out of school and was able to start a little communications business with my dad. He'd retired from the telephone company. He was always a tradesman his whole life, so he had a skill and a trade, and I wanted to run a business. So we grew that business, grew it well. The Lord blessed us, ultimately sold that, then I rolled into real estate. But going through, those different seasons, there was difficult times. There was times in business. There was the '08 downturn. I would say things started out really well. Things got really difficult. I had business partners that were a whole lot smarter than me, that had a whole lot more money than I did, that ultimately filed bankruptcy, lost everything that they'd had through some very difficult times that I was tied very closely to. I remember sitting, with lenders, being a very, very young man, saying, I'm going to make this right. We're going to work through this, through some of the real estate downturns and working through those times. I remember dealing through legal struggles, over the years where there was things through, bonds and surety companies judgments that got put in place very quickly, ultimately taking things up on appeal to the state level, and God restoring things completely and just wiping things away. And so just navigating that, just continuing to show up, going back to the perseverance, God's grace, His guidance, and continuing to try and lead into that. And then ultimately, like I said, as we work toward Arise Homes, really just full surrender of making sure that I'm pursuing Him first. It used to be I would go do a lot of business deals and trying to grow, being that entrepreneur that God made me to be. And then I'd get in the middle of something and I would say, Lord, can you come help me? Can you come fix this for me? And He'd very gently whisper, well, did you ask me if you were supposed to do this in the first place? And I'm like, well, wasn't I? And, things are very, very different today where, through just great friends, great mentors, just a surrendered heart where, I really approach, business and life a whole lot differently, seeking Him first, His kingdom first, His righteousness, and then, trying to make a move and sit still until He moves me.
Instead of guys like you and I and lots of others that are on this podcast with all kinds of vision and ambition, God bless my plans. It's God, give me the plan, and then He's obligated to bless it.
That's right.
Yeah, that's so good. So I'm wondering if in all that, was there a turning point? Was there a time when, or did you always have that strong sense that I can overcome adversity and persevere and press on? Or was there a turning point or two when you look back?
For whatever reason, I feel like that God always gave me the ability to not be too emotionally high or too emotionally low. I don't know that I celebrate as well as I should, but I also don't become so overwhelmed and crippled when things would normally crush most individuals. And so Lord has given me the ability to kind of stay in this middle ground of emotion, and through very, very difficult times. Through the 07, 08 downturn and kind of navigating, all those times in real estate, it was a difficult time. I'm not going to lie. I was living in a beautiful home in a beautiful community. I was going to work each and every single day. I still had a couple employees at that time, during that downturn time. And I just continued to show up each and every day. And, I wasn't taking a paycheck. I was still continuing to pay my people with what I had, and went for over a year of no income. And my wife, I remember her asking, she's like, well, when are you going to go to work? What are we going to do? And I said, babe, I'm going to work every day. And if I need to go scrub toilets somewhere, I will go do that. But I don't feel like the Lord's leading me in that direction yet. And, I was just doing things, honestly, for grocery money. We had some young kids at that time. I was trying to pick up some oddball work, even while still trying to run and manage and take care of some of these assets and work through that whole time where most guys around me were falling, filing bankruptcy. And the Lord just continued to provide. And I had a peace, through all of that, no matter the struggle.
Yeah. You learn to not overreact when adversity came your way, to say, God will see me through this.
I had to continue to press forward. My friend Rick, who I mentioned earlier, and being an entrepreneur, being in business, we have a company of over, 35 plus people. Like I mentioned, top 25 builders in Kansas City, hundreds of acres of land development, things that we're doing. There's times where you get anxious, and you can be anxious about what's going on and, where the provisions are coming from as an entrepreneur. And I remember Rick saying, in one of the greatest things that I love, he said, the marketplace is not my provider. And I was like, that's right. He's not. The Lord provides. The marketplace does not. So I don't need to look to the marketplace for my provisions. And when I look to the Lord, He continues to provide each and every time. He is faithful yesterday, today, and I know He will be tomorrow.
So 3 different times now, I've just seen you noticeably tear up, your voice quivers a bit, and you're just thankful for what God has done.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's true, Joe. I can get overwhelmed with emotion. God's goodness can be overwhelming. But even in the dark times, what's even more of a blessing, how is He stands close.
Yeah.
And He's with you.
So I'm wondering, as you've gone through your life, Matt, is there some advice that people have given you that you've really taken to heart that you might share with listeners that, here's some really good advice as you go through your adversities in life?
Oh gosh, I think that could be, situational and what the situation is. I had shared when Rick had said the marketplace is not your provider. That was a really good piece of advice. Like I said, when you're in business, when you're an entrepreneur, that kind of makes sure you're keeping your focus. First things first, right? Definitely the case. Oh,
Put an explanation mark on that. Get the things in proper priority.
right.
It's God's first. He's the maker of heaven and earth. He
Right.
can solve whatever issues we're dealing with and comfort us through those seasons.
And for me, years ago, and like I said, I mean, the Lord has continued to bless, and I'm very thankful for where we're at. And, if there's a season ahead of some adversity, I know He'll continue to be with me, just as He has been before. So I'm 49 years old now, and time flies when you're having fun. I can't believe it that, I'm pushing 50 now. But, through some of those life storms, we live here in the Midwest, in the Kansas City area. And, the worst type of storms is Category 5, F5 tornadoes are the worst type of storms. And I remember going through some of those life storms and saying, Lord, what do I need to focus on? And there's all sorts of books and all sorts of information and, all sorts of things to press into. And I just remember the Lord just gave me this vision of this tornado and this F5 tornado, this massive storm. And He just very clearly said, you need to have your 5 Fs to be able to stand against the storm. And you need to keep it simple. I told you earlier, I was in special education classes. Joe, I got to keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate things for me. And so He gave me 5 Fs. And He said, focus on these things in this order and work on them daily and weekly. And if you do, this is really all you need to do. Like, this is how simple it really is, Matt. And He said, focus first and foremost on your faith. Then secondly, your family, then your finances, then your fitness, and then you still need to have a little bit of fun along the way. And that's okay to have some fun as well. So those are my 5 Fs. So as I go throughout my week, I'm like, all right, where am I at with my faith? Where have I been at my prayer life today? Where have I been at my devotions? Who have I had a chance to talk to pour into? My family, have I called or texted each one of my kids? Have I spent time with them? How am I, pressing into my wife and spending time with her? My finances, am I being a good steward of what God's blessed me with? It's not mine. None of it's mine. It's His. How am I stewarding that? Am I taking care of my health? What am I eating? How am I taking care of the temple and the body that He has given me so I can be at my absolute best? And then am I having some fun? And am I going out and am I riding my dirt bikes? Am I snowboarding? Am I, hanging out with my friends, hanging out with my kids, hanging out with my wife, traveling, doing some of those things? So we incorporate some fun in there as well.
Yeah, that's good. So when you look forward, what do you sense the future looks like for you, your family, your team?
I just continue to press in each and every day. I don't cast the vision out too terribly far, but just try and be diligent in how the Lord leads and what He reveals. I've got 4 great kids that I'm absolutely blessed with. The other night, my wife and I were laying in bed. We were talking. It was getting late. My 20-year-old, who's home from college right now, he's heading into his junior year of college. He's the oldest of 4. He walked in, and he just crawled in bed right between us and just snuggled up to me and his mom. And I'm like, okay, 20-year-old young man, crawls in bed with his mom and dad. And I'm like, that was such a blessing to me, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's just how all of our kids are. The relationship, the connectivity. So I see them I'm excited for them, for the future, for what God has, how they're pursuing, their relationship with the Lord, how they're growing. My wife and I, the next season, we've got, our second one is going off to college this year. So we have 2 at home, but very quickly we're moving toward the empty nest. So kind of that next season for her and I'm thankful for the relationship that we have after 20 years. I mean, it's stronger today than it's ever been. And so I'm super thankful for that and what that looks like as we move ahead. And then for our team, as we continue to grow, I've got big visions. I've got big visions for our company, but I want to walk it out in unity with our team. I want to make sure that we're pursuing excellence and consistency in all things that we're doing, and then continuing to make sure that our team is bought in on some of the visions that I have, and just see how the Lord continues to guide and direct. But I think we'll continue to grow, but I want to make the plans, but I want to make sure the Lord's directing our steps.
You are one of the most visionary people I've ever met. You have a really clear vision of where you want to go. And with that, coupled with that, you have this ability to walk it out day by day with these priorities. It's very unusual. Many people are living out there and a lot of people are living here, but you have both of those working for you. It seems like you have faith then that God will direct my steps.
I truly believe that He will. And as far as trying to keep that balance, I've seen individuals, guys, gals, really I would say, excel in one of the 5 categories, or 2, maybe even 3 of the 5 categories that I mentioned. But to try and be consistent in all 5 of those, it's a challenge, and it's difficult. But like I said, I keep those before me, daily and weekly, and continue to try and press in to try and keep a good, healthy life balance in those areas that I feel like that the Lord gave me, and said, hey, these are the 5 things. Like, keep it simple, Matt.
Yeah.
I'm not going to overcomplicate it for you. So
I love that. What should I have asked that I haven't asked yet?
Oh gosh, Joe, you're really good at asking a lot of questions.
Got the little cheat sheet here. It's helping.
There you go. Perfect. I think if I was to share, anything at this point, I think it's important to be intentional, So as far as maybe how to try and go next level, maybe that's a question. How to go next level, how to think about these things. If you feel like somebody that's listening, maybe if they're stuck in a rut or a place in life, maybe they've hit a midlife crisis. I know I've seen a lot of guys, gals, in their 40s, kind of start to question, what have I done? Where am I at? My gosh, life is just beginning. Like I said, I'm 49. I'm like, it's just beginning. I've only just begun. And so I would just encourage to, continue to press in, and in the areas of life, seek and find mentors, people who have leveled up in those areas. So for me, in my 5F areas, I had somebody ask me years ago, well, how do you go about that? Just have like a singular life coach. I'm not against life coaches, but for me, I've sought what I think are next level individuals in each one of those areas. So if it's in my faith, who is that spiritual mentor that I really consider to be next level, and how can I get close to that person to kind of walk alongside and understand that journey? Someone who I feel like, has really done great with their family and balance. A lot of guys do great in work, but their families really suffered in the process, right? And so who has really done that well? Within my fitness side of things, finding someone, I have a great friend, Micah, has a company called HitchFit, and he's a next level individual, actually at a lot of things, but just an amazing trainer, great friend, right? And so finding those people within those areas. My business partner, Austin, he likes to have a lot of fun. So he pulls me out of my box, and I like to go have fun too, but I'm always more focused on task first. And Austin's like, hey, we need to go snowboarding, we need to go mountain biking, and I need those things, right? And so he's a great friend. Jennifer, my wife, she loves to travel, so she plans it, she makes it happen, so she pulls that fun side out as well. So they help me make sure I'm keeping my life balanced. So I would say that, look, if you're hitting a place of discouragement, pause, see where the Lord's leading, how he's guiding you, really press and realize that you have only just begun. I don't care if you're 8, 18, midlife crisis, or in your 80s, you've only just begun. My dad's still kicking strong, and my mom is as well. Dad's, 81, 82 years old, but there's just these transitional life, and you hit different seasons of life. But I think as long as you pursue intentionality, pursue relationship and community, find those people who, you really feel are next level, and it's up to you. It's up to you to take those steps, and then, ask the Lord to come alongside you and guide you in that.
So how about that F, finances and stewardship?
Yep.
This is an area where you've obviously attained a lot of wisdom through the peaks and valleys of life. Talk to us a little bit about that.
On the finance side of things, yes, I've always traditionally been a saver. My wife likes to spend a little more, so we find a happy,
little fun.
So we find a happy balance there. But I really take the mindset of it's not mine. I've been given something from someone who I love, who has given me life, and they have blessed me with something. And how do I manage and steward that well? And so for me, I'm trying to look into that and then say, where am I making the right investments? What exactly are we doing? My personal finance. Like I said, I'm an entrepreneur, so I don't like to get into the details. I have a personal accountant that handles all my personal finances. I meet with her, I go over it. Like, I don't want to deal with it. She writes all my checks, pays all my bills, and it's very important. But I just know that I need to delegate that as an entrepreneur because I'm going to be better served, but I know I need to be a good steward. So I surround myself with people. We've got a controller within our company, that we're meeting with, going over all of our finances, looking at it. So God's given me wisdom on how to, guide and direct that. We have a monthly ministry meeting within our company. So, we are doing things where we're sending our team on vision and mission trips, where we're taking days and working with Habitat for Humanity, or having the opportunity opportunity to give financial resources to different ministries. So we're taking, those monthly ministry meetings and saying, hey, here's how much we have in our account. From every home closing, we're taking dollars and intentionally setting it in. So to me, I need to set it and forget it, right? I need to have my personal accountant. I need to have my monthly ministry director. I need to have our controller. And so I meet with those teams, and I feel like God's given me wisdom to have those conversations and have discernment through that. But I'm not the guy digging through the numbers. Like, I'm the guy casting the vision, looking ahead, being more of that visionary.
So I got just a few more questions here on a little lighter side. Favorite book, favorite movie, favorite vacation?
Favorite book, I always enjoy reading John Maxwell. He is so rich, but yet so easy to understand. And I like his book, Failing Forward, because, Joe, I failed plenty of times, and I failed again and again. By God's grace, I've continued to fail forward, I really believe. And so I really enjoy his book, Failing Forward. I think that's a great read. A lot of Maxwell stuff I really like. Craig Rochelle, I really like Winning the War in Your Mind. The enemy can come in to steal, kill, and destroy and try and take our minds, in places and directions and cause self-doubt and anxiety. And I think he's got a great book on that and kind of how to navigate through some of those things. So a couple great books there. Favorite movie... The Life of Walter Mitty is kind of a good movie. Big Fish, which is an older movie. Really enjoy those. Those are both older movies, but really enjoy the stories of those movies. From a vacation standpoint, oh gosh, the list could run long. But my wife and I had taken a trip not too long ago. We're on the President's Council with the Luis Palau organization. So it's an international ministry. And so we were in Argentina with my dad, with my son, and then Jennifer. We met a couple there that was also on the President's Council. They invited us on a trip to go to Spain, to the islands there with some very close friends of theirs, to go biking with a group called Backroads. So Mallorca and Minorca, the islands there. So we flew over to Spain. These three groups of individuals were celebrating their 20-year wedding anniversary. They'd known each other for like 10 and 20 years, and we'd known one of the couples for like 4 days. And so they invited us into this group and just had an amazing time on that biking trip. So it was beautiful countryside. It was active, so we were riding bikes in a beautiful area with absolutely amazing people that were very like-minded from their families, their foundation, their faith, just their love of business and entrepreneurship. And so those families have become some of our very, very closest friends. They all live in Florida, but we see them, continually. So very fun. We like to go to Maui. Been there, a handful of times. Just got back from a trip with our daughter on her senior trip. So we were through London and Paris and Lisbon and through Malaga, Sevilla in Spain. So it was kind of an amazing race type of trip. So Jennifer's very good at that. So she helps keep things fun. So like to travel.
People want to learn more about Arise. Where would you send them?
Probably the simplest, easiest, would be our website, maybe going to the About page. So if you Google Arise Homes Kansas City, you're going to find us. Arise-homes.com is our website. So going to the About page, there's going to give you a little more about myself and Austin and just kind of our lifelong, friendship and brotherhood that we've had and how God has really, blessed our union and business partnership and friendship. So yeah, you could go there and talk about our houses and our developments and all that kind of stuff. So that's at least a starting point.
Perfect. I look forward to doing this again in the years ahead and seeing what's next in this extraordinary life that you're living.
Me too. I want to know what's going to happen. I'm excited for the next step. I hope I'm there.
Perfect. Would you close us in prayer and pray for the listeners of this podcast today?
Absolutely. I'd appreciate that. Appreciate the opportunity. So, Heavenly Father, Lord, I just thank you for today. I thank you for Joe and for the time here with him. I thank you for Real Media, the opportunity to be in this great studio. And Lord, I just thank you for your many blessings. I pray that you will bless and be with the listeners of this podcast and other podcasts that Joe does. Lord, that you will speak in and through the individuals and that there will be a message that will land at just the right place, at just the right time, Father God, to those who hear the message that Joe is trying to spread. And I thank you for your goodness. Lord, I thank you for your consistency, for your love for us, for always standing alongside us. And Heavenly Father, just pray that you continue to bless Joe, this podcast, and all that he is doing in and through it. In Jesus' precious name, amen.
Amen. So if you enjoyed this, please share, please subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Amen. Thanks, Matt.
You got it. Thank you, Joe.